After my brain surgery, I lost any feelings I had for Helen. When a kid bumped into us, Helen was quick to pull Peter away. I hit the ground hard, dusted myself off, and casually said, "I'm starving. When's dinner?" Helen was shocked. "Johnny, what's wrong with you?" After that day, she suddenly turned into the perfect wife, even ignoring Peter. That's when I brought up divorce. Helen was devastated. "Why?" I sighed, "You're too much. Why not go be Peter's husband?" Late at night, my temples throbbed with pain, like needles stabbing tirelessly. I opened my eyes, gasping, the pain relentless. Drenched in sweat, I groaned uncontrollably, reaching out beside me. "Helen, my head hurts." I touched nothing. The bed, usually warm, was cold. That's when I realized she was gone. The door was shut, the room dim and quiet. Outside, the rain poured, dark and heavy. Caught between silence and noise, I felt alone. A deep sense of loneliness and pain filled my heart. I pulled out my phone and called her, over and over, just getting the busy signal. Where was she? What was she up to? Fighting through the pain, I changed and took a cab to the hospital. I couldn't avoid getting soaked getting in and out of the car. The hospital was busy even late at night. But unlike them, I had no one with me. Just sitting alone in a corner, my head splitting, pants soaked and clinging to my skin, pathetic and alone. When my number was called, the doctor asked a few questions before his face grew serious, sending me upstairs for a CT scan. Seeing his face, fear crept in, and I nervously asked, "Doctor, is it something serious? Am I gonna die?" He smiled gently, speaking softly. "It's okay. Let's get a CT scan first, all right?" Outside the CT room, I tried calling Helen again. No answer. I sighed and laid on the cold table. Leaving the hospital by morning, I felt like I was walking on clouds. My body and soul were drifting. No place felt like home. The doctor said I got a tumor in my brain. He prescribed some meds, telling me to talk with my family and plan treatment. Family. Dad passed. I called Mom. She picked up quick, but before I said anything, "I'm making breakfast for Betty. She's rushing to school. Call later. Mom, She hung up. Betty's the daughter from her remarriage. To her, I was just a weed, but Betty was her precious stone. Handled with care, fearing any harm. The pain in my head worsened. The rain cleared. The sun shined on the road but not on me. I still felt cold. I sent Helen 3 texts. "Where are you? When are you coming back? I need to talk to you." Helen replied 2 hours later. She said she had an emergency at work right after I fell asleep and she'd be back in half an hour. I wondered what kind of emergency had her. A big boss, busy all night with no time for a call. I didn't ask, just told her, "Drive safe. Come back soon." While waiting for her, I scrolled through social media and saw a post from Peter. He posted around 1 a.m. In the warm kitchen light, a woman wore a light blue shirt. She focused on the little pot, sleeves rolled up, showing her slender arms. Steam blurred the man's profile. Peter wrote, "Only you, willing to come through when I need it most, cooking a hot bowl of porridge." I had my answer. That big emergency was braving the rain to cook porridge for her ex-boyfriend with a stomachache. So considerate. I smirked sarcastically. Helen and I met through a setup. If not for her grandpa and mine being comrades, we wouldn't have had a chance to meet. Under their arrangement, we finally met. We hit it off, and on a romantic autumn afternoon, she confessed her love. I accepted. Naturally, we ended up together. My buddy Steven said Helen and I are peas from the same pod, warm outside, cold inside. Friendly enough, but few made it into our hearts. From dating to marriage, nothing dramatic happened. Some might say we were too plain, but I loved it. Quiet was happiness too. I first heard about Peter's name at a party. We'd been married 3 years, pretty solid. A friend mentioned his divorce. The room went silent, eyes on Helen. She sipped her drink, cool as ever, then said, "What? Do I have guilt on my face?" Everyone laughed it off and the topic was dropped. Back home, Helen talked about Peter before I could ask. "He's my ex. We ended things due to personality differences. I didn't press on. Late 20s, who doesn't have a past? As long as it didn't mess with the present, I let it go. But reality is harsh. Helen had no plans to fully let go. One day, a kid at the kindergarten lost his pricey glasses. All of us teachers stayed back to search everywhere, finally digging them out of the sandbox. Exhausted, and it was raining, I asked Helen to pick me up. She'd offered before, but I declined. 1, the commute was easy enough, subway was convenient. 2, I hated drawing attention. She once joked, "If you'd let me, I'd dress nicer than on our wedding day. Make you proud." I teased her for being egotistical. That thought made me smile. But this time she said no. Her voice sounded so tired. "Sorry, Johnny. I'm swamped at work today. Can't leave." I assured her, "Take care of yourself. I'll wait for you to come home." I decided to cab it. Waiting at a red light, I spotted a familiar black Bentley. Helen drove one just like it this morning. At first, I thought it was just a coincidence. The red light was counting down, and a guy got out of the car, diving into the continuous rain. Then a woman followed him. It turned out to be Helen. I asked the driver to stop, scanned the code to pay, then got out of the car and watched them argue from a distance. The guy had a likable face. "I know you're still mad at me. I'm not showing up to annoy you anymore. Satisfied?" He pushed Helen away and ran off. Helen wanted to chase after him, but I called out to her. She froze. We stood on opposite sides of the rain, looking at each other. "Let's go home," I said. I got into her car, and we drove home together. Sitting in the living room, we were silent. Helen opened her mouth several times, seeming like she wanted to say something, but then decided not to after seeing my expression. I broke the silence first. "Let's get a divorce. I don't like complicated relationships." Helen jumped up, looking incredulous. "What are you talking about?" I kept a straight face, just looking at her. She deflated like a balloon, squatting down in front of me. His ex-wife can't accept the divorce and keep stalking him. He came to me for help. He should have gone to the police, not his ex-girlfriend. "You're right." Helen took a deep breath. "I was wrong. I didn't consider your feelings. What do I need to do to make you feel better?" "Block him, don't see him again." "Okay." Without hesitation, she quickly took out her phone and, right in front of me, deleted and blocked him. After that, she comforted me, "Why don't you take a shower? If you catch a cold, it'd be my fault." Helen has a way of coaxing people I can't resist. After that, Peter seemed to disappear from between us. Helen came home on time, no more working late. Then last night, Peter added me. I realized they hadn't stopped contacting each other. They just got stealthier. His friend request was simple. "I'm Peter. Do you still want these clothes?" I accepted his request. He sent a photo of a gray work suit awkwardly hanging among his clothes. I realized that the night Helen deleted his contact in front of me, she put him in another villa of hers. I replied, "Throw it away." When Helen came back, I asked, "Did you let Peter stay at that place?" She snapped, accusing me of stalking her. I said his ex-wife is stalking him with bad intentions. Just because he's my ex, does it mean I should leave him to die? Don't you have any sympathy? That wasn't the tone for a conversation. I widened my eyes and looked at her in shock before turning back to the room. Half an hour later, Helen quietly entered the room and hugged me from behind. Her voice carried a bit of grievance. "Didn't we promise not to give each other the cold shoulder? There's really nothing between me and Peter. I just felt sorry for him. Once his ex-wife gives up, I'll have him leave the city." She rambled on, but I didn't listen. I hate arguments. They turn people into demons. They remind me of my early days in the city, constantly hearing my parents argue after leaving Grandma. Dad accused Mom of aborting the child he had wanted for years. Mom accused Dad of cheating, having the cake and eating it too. She called it karma. I tried to stop them, but Dad kicked me away. I lay on the ground, sobbing, but no one comforted me. Dad blamed Mom for bringing me to the city, and Mom said it was Grandma's idea. Their argument turned physical. I sat there alone, watching them. Grandma said that my parents bringing me to the city was a sign of love, and that I should be obedient and study hard. But do they love me? If it were Grandma, she would have hugged me and called me the bravest child. Finally, I went back to my room, stuck pieces of paper in my ears, and hid in the closet. I grew up amidst their arguments until my dad unexpectedly passed away. I swore I'd never resolve problems through fighting. When I first told Helen about it, she held me and promised not to put me in such a situation. But she seems to have forgotten. As I fell into sleep, something gently touched my forehead. I heard a sigh. What should I do with you? The door opened, pulling my thoughts back to the present. Helen came in with the breakfast from the corner cafe, my favorite, and set it in front of me kindly. Haven't had breakfast yet, right? I waited in a long line to get this. Eat it while it's hot. After setting it down, she looked up, seriously asking, "Is there something you want to say to me?" I met her eyes. Her dark eyes reflected my pale face. My gaze drifted down to the unfamiliar white shirt she was wearing. "Did you change your clothes?" Helen paused, gently acknowledging, "Got wet in the rain, so I changed." I let out a chuckle, unable to hide my sarcasm. "And, is there anything you want to say to me?" She averted her eyes quickly, focusing on peeling an egg for me. "Work is boring, nothing much to talk about." I looked up into the empty space. I don't have anything either. I wasn't planning to tell her about the tumor in my brain. She wasn't someone I was willing to trust, rely on, or want to spend my life with anymore. While I was preparing to give a reason for disappearing for a bit, she mentioned a business trip up to a month. "I'll come back as soon as possible." I didn't ask where she was going or for what. I just nodded, all right. When I got up the next day, Helen had already left. There was a sticky note on the nightstand with lots of reminders. Don't stay up late. Don't skip breakfast. Don't read in dim light. I glanced at it, then ripped it off and tossed it in the trash. I packed my clothes, called in sick to work, and went to the hospital alone to check in. After a slew of tests, the surgery plan was confirmed. Brain surgery to remove the tumor. Late at night, lying on the hospital bed, I was afraid of the surgery the next day, even though I wouldn't admit it. But who could I talk to? Mom was busy being Betty's mom. Didn't even want to answer my calls. Stephen was in some remote area filming. Who knows when his phone will have signal. As for Helen, forget it. She was with Peter. Yes, Peter's father got very ill, and somehow my wife went with him to visit his family. I turned to my side, pressing down on my chest. It hurt. We were supposed to be family, but it didn't mean anything. I was alone again. The surgery was successful. When I woke up, I couldn't feel my limbs, but felt surprisingly light. The biopsy was benign. I couldn't find anyone to immediately share the good news with, so I texted Stephen. I stayed in the hospital for 3 weeks, recovering very well. During that time, not once did I think about Helen. After I got discharged from the hospital, the wig I ordered arrived. The short black hair covering my head made my pale face look even whiter. I smiled at the mirror. It was a bit ugly, but that's okay. Everything would get better. The day after I got home, Helen brought Peter over. I was pretty calm when I saw the man behind her. I had found out from his social media a few days ago. Peter's dad, before passing away, had asked the two of them to take care of each other. And my loving wife, of course, agreed. Helen stood in front of Peter. Peter just went through a major blow. I want him to stay with us for a while. Peter whispered, "If Johnny minds, I'll head back home." He sounded so pitiful. Helen gave me a look that blamed me. And I hadn't even said anything yet. I just walked out of the room to get a cup of hot water. I sighed. Respect the dead. I nodded calmly. Oh. Helen and Peter were both shocked by my reaction, staring at me with wide eyes. I walked past them into my room, hugging my pillow and blanket, and said generously, "The master bedroom is big, you can have it." I thought they'd be happy with my understanding. But Helen got mad, her usually gentle face bursting with anger. "Johnny, what's your problem? Can't you have a little understanding for Peter? He just lost family and is being hounded by his ex-wife. Anyone with a bit of sympathy would understand that. Why can't you?" I looked at her. Logic told me I should feel sad right now. After all, she is my wife. She was pushing me to let her ex stay over. 3 years of marriage, even though we met through a blind date, we still had feelings for each other. Otherwise, in my toughest times, she would not be the first person I'd think of. But emotionally, I felt nothing. She stood in front of me like the most familiar stranger. I couldn't feel anger or sadness, just tiredness. The doctor advised getting plenty of sleep. I wanted to recover quickly, so I had to follow the doctor's orders. I dodged the confrontation. I'm not making a fuss. Let him stay. I went into the guest room. Helen grabbed the door. What are you doing? Didn't I just explain? I didn't respond, shook free of her hand, and closed the door. Johnny. She kicked the door. Maybe I shouldn't have come? If I didn't, you and Johnny wouldn't argue. I'm just a burden. I'll leave and not drag you two down. He pretended to leave. As he opened the door, Helen spoke up to stop him. It's not your fault. He's the one overthinking. Don't let it bother you. Stay, there's still a room available. After a while, Helen came knocking again. I ignored it, took off the wig, put it aside, and downed a handful of pills the doctor prescribed. Sleepiness hit, and I drifted off to sleep, completely unaware that Helen was pacing outside until midnight. I slept until noon. After washing up, I got ready to head downstairs for lunch. Breakfast was laid out on the table, filled with things I loved. A sticky note was attached, reminding me to eat breakfast before going to work. She didn't know I had taken a 3-month medical leave. I stared at it for a while. The breakfast had long gone cold, just like my unemotional heart. Pretending not to see it, I walked out past the table. There's a place outside the neighborhood that catered to the tastes of most locals, very bland. I like stronger flavors, but Helen loves it, so we often go there together. The doctor recommended a bland diet during recovery, so I went in. Coincidentally, Peter was there too. Across from him was Helen, who was supposed to be at work. I heard Helen saying, "Isn't this your favorite? This place is nice." Peter glanced at me out of the corner of his eye. He didn't look directly, but smiled a little. "So you came back from work just to eat this with me?" Helen didn't reply. He carried on. "Does Johnny like it too?" She paused and uncertainly replied, "Maybe. I don't." There was an open table behind them, so I walked towards it. Helen heard my footsteps, looked back, and was surprised. She stood up abruptly. "Johnny, you didn't go to work?" Peter also stood up, feigning surface-level guilt. "Johnny, I didn't know you were at home. Otherwise, I would have invited you down too. It's all my fault." Then a waiter's frantic voice cut in. "Kid, no running in the restaurant." A little boy holding a small bowl was running wildly, giggling. He wasn't looking where he was going, glaring at the waiter trying to stop him, and headed right for us. The waiter shouted, "Watch out." In the chaos, Helen instinctively pulled Peter over, making him avoid the crash. The little boy, however, crashed straight into me, knocking me down. I couldn't grab the table in time and landed on the ground, warm soup spilling all over me. In that moment, the room sank into an eerie silence, with Helen staring in disbelief at her own hand. She broke the awkward silence first, releasing Peter and bending down to help me up, looking concerned. "Johnny, are you okay?" I decisively pushed away her hand, got up myself, brushed off, and stood with the table's help. I didn't look at her. I didn't feel the pain of not being chosen. I looked down at the boy lying on the ground crying loudly and said calmly, "You ran into me. Apologize." The boy's parents sprang to life, rushing over to pick him up. His dad glared at me. "What gives you the right to talk to my kid like that? Is this your restaurant? If you weren't in the way standing here, my kid wouldn't have run into you." Helen raised an eyebrow. "Sir, raising your voice doesn't make you right. Anyone can see it's your kid who wasn't looking and ran into someone." The kid's mom rolled up her sleeves. "Ready to rumble? Who are you? Is this any of your business?" "Helen, I'm his wife, so yeah, it is." I cut her off calmly. "She's got nothing to do with this. I'm talking about your kid hitting me. He spilled soup all over me. And you're picking on a kid over this?" Seeing that reasoning was futile, I took out my phone to call. "What are you doing?" "Calling the cops to have them take your kid away." My slightly grim tone finally scared the kid. He clung to his dad, bawling, "I don't want to be taken away. Don't want the cops to take me. I'm sorry. I won't run around anymore. Daddy, don't let the cops take me. As soon as they saw I was serious about calling the cops, their attitude softened. For such a minor thing, are you really going to call the police? They said. I laid out what I wanted. First, an apology, and second, money for the clothes. The kid apologized through tears, and they quickly transferred the money to me. The kid's mom glanced at me, defiant. Only you would make a fuss over this. No wonder your wife's cheating on you. Helen's face darkened immediately, and she snapped, What are you saying? But the woman shot back, Come on, do you think we're blind? You and that guy have been all lovey-dovey since you walked in. If you're not his wife, what is it? An affair? Helen's expression grew even darker, clenching her fists. The tension was thick, like something could explode any second. Peter anxiously said. I ignored their drama and went to the front desk to pack up some food. As I left, I faintly heard someone call my name, but I didn't turn around. Helen got back half an hour after me. She came in alone, standing silently with a complicated look in her eyes. Finally, she asked, Why didn't you let me help you earlier? I was puzzled. Was there any need? Helen seemed strange, insisting, Yes, there was. We're family. When you face trouble, you should come to me first. I was taken aback. At least that's what I used to think before Peter showed up. Feeling annoyed, I sighed. It's not necessary. Helen's eyes suddenly reddened. Johnny, why do I feel like you don't care about me at all anymore? It's not just a feeling. She jolted, staring at me intensely, then coldly laughed and dialed on her phone. When the call connected, she spoke in a low, tender tone, like a lover would. Peter, don't worry about moving out. Just treat this place as home. I actually want you to stay. As she spoke, she looked at me, trying to detect any hint of emotion on my face. But she miscalculated. I truly don't care. As long as they don't disturb me and let me rest in peace. I'd even thought about moving out. But moving is such a hassle. The idea quickly faded. I'll just hold on. I have a checkup at the hospital in a week. Right now, my energy is limited, and I need it all for myself. Peter came back. Helen, on purpose, often gets cozy with him right in front of me. But I treat them like they don't exist. The calmer I am, the more Helen seems to want to prove a point. She calls Peter into the kitchen with her. They act like a happy couple, and every now and then Peter reminisces. You used to love cooking for me back then. I remember when we first got together, I didn't even know you needed water to cook rice. I told you I wanted to try your cooking, and you learned from a chef. Your friends joked you were more serious about it than the entrance exams. I shouldn't have left without saying goodbye. Peter was getting all emotional, but Helen was lost in thought until some oil splattered on Peter, jerking her back to reality at his yelp. Seeing the oil stain, Helen stopped him from going to change clothes. She walked out of the kitchen and casually said, Johnny, get Peter a shirt, he didn't bring many. I didn't move at first. She wasn't mad, maybe even a bit smug, saying, If you don't want to, never mind. I'll have him buy some. I nodded, I'll get it. There's some old stuff I hardly wear anymore that could go to use. I rummaged through the master bedroom, found some old clothes, and tossed them in front of Peter, saying nonchalantly, Take them all. Helen's stiff gaze landed on the black shirt on top. Her face changed, incredulous. Why give this one to him? What's wrong with it? It's the shirt you wore on our date the first day we met. It hasn't fit in a year, yet you couldn't part with it. Now you're giving it to Peter? I didn't care if it doesn't fit. Get rid of it. Things tied to feelings only have value. Without that, it's just an old shirt that doesn't fit. Helen clutched the shirt tightly, her eyes stormy. Peter tried to take it, but she pushed him away. Suddenly, she yanked Peter into the guest room where he stayed. Pack your stuff and leave. Peter looked completely baffled. You were the one who told me to come back, and now you're telling me to leave. Helen, what's up with you? What do you take me for? Helen's voice was unexpectedly calm. Peter, we're history. Peter gritted his teeth. That's a lie. If you didn't care, why go with me to see my dad? And that night, Helen's face darkened, and she looked up with an intimidating glare. Peter. Peter flinched, glancing at my indifferent expression. then gave a strange smile. Fine. I won't say more. Helen, don't regret this. Dragging his suitcase, he stomped out. Helen closed the door, letting out a breath of relief. Acting unfazed, she came over to me, crouching down and trying to hold my hand. Johnny, can we just move on and be happy together? There won't be anyone else from now on. Startled, I stood up and rolled my eyes at her. Now, Helen seems like a different person, constantly seeking my attention. Why are you taking time off? It's okay if you don't want to work. What do you want to eat today? I'll cook it for you. I heard from a friend of hers that Helen is quite the cook. I was surprised since she'd never cooked a meal for me. When I told her I wanted to taste her cooking, she flat out refused, saying it's been so long she's rusty. Yet when I wasn't interested in eating, she suddenly insisted. Fed up, I asked, don't you have work? Helen's eyes lit up. I've taken a week off to spend time with you. I slammed the door shut, beginning to seriously consider divorce. Helen's constant presence was affecting my mood. The doctor said staying in a good mood is crucial for recovery. I intended to think about divorce after the checkup, but I can't wait any longer now. I reached out to a lawyer online. At noon, Helen knocked on the door. When I answered, her face was full of eager anticipation. The food's all ready. Why are you changing? Where are you going? I brushed past her, and as I walked by the table, I saw the so-called food I love to eat. Actually, I don't like bland stuff. Helen was taken aback. I thought you liked it. No, that's what you like. She forced a smile. I'll remember that. Where are you headed? I can give you a ride. No need. I smiled at her. Just wait for me here. I'll be right back. Helen, feeling flattered, obediently sat down. I came back with the divorce papers, and Helen was sitting just like she was when I left. She got up, smiling, ready to say something. I cut her off, laid out the divorce papers right under her nose. Let's get divorced. See if there's anything you want to discuss. There's a huge gap in our income. I'm not greedy, but you were the one who cheated. So I want the villa in the west suburbs, the big flat, and this place too. Not a big deal for you, right? Helen's face went pale, and after a while, she squeezed out, I don't agree to the divorce. Why not? We don't have feelings for each other anymore. Divorce would be good for both of us. She got really emotional. Who said we don't have feelings anymore? I scoffed. I'm not stupid, Helen. The night you said you were working late, you came back wearing different clothes than the ones you had at Peter's house. What situation at his house needed you to change clothes? Helen tried to explain. His ex-wife showed up, and as a friend, I went to see what was going on. Nothing happened between us. My clothes got soaked in the rain, and I didn't want you to misunderstand, so I had my secretary drop off a spare. I didn't cheat on you. I didn't say whether I believed her or not, just nodded, and went to pack my things. If you don't agree to divorce, then let's separate for now. Helen grabbed my hand, her lips turning white. Where are you going? I pulled away to a place without you. Seeing you makes me feel nauseous, ruins my mood. Helen always seemed modest and reserved but was actually really proud. Being born with a silver spoon, she's probably never faced much hardship. But I'm the unreasonable one, ignoring her attempts at reconciliation and calling her disgusting. Her pride couldn't take it. She let go of my hand and coldly said, Johnny, I won't agree to the divorce. Get over it. I moved into the big flat, enjoying the rare peace. Regretted not moving sooner. Should have moved to enjoy this earlier. While wandering downstairs, I bumped into someone unexpected. Mr. G. A woman with glasses, tall and skinny, with brown eyes giving a cool vibe. It's the doctor in charge of my surgery. Lily. I awkwardly made small talk. Felt like a student again facing a strict teacher. You live here too? Yeah, haven't seen you around before. I pointed to the building behind me. Just moved in, I live in this one. Lily raised an eyebrow. What a coincidence. She must have just finished a night shift. There were faint dark circles under her eyes. We chatted a bit, and I saw her sneakily yawn. This little moment made her seem less intimidating. I smiled. I won't keep you. Get some rest. She nodded, slightly embarrassed, put her hand down. Remember to come back for a follow-up at the hospital. I took a half-hour walk, then slowly started getting settled in. But people like Helen are like flies, can't resist bothering you. Peter started bombarding me with texts in the middle of the night. The first picture was a selfie, with Helen leaning into him, looking pretty intimate. You guys have been married 3 years. I asked Ruyan what your marriage was like. She said it was like plain water. Super boring. You know what? We dated for 4 years. Every time I got mad and mentioned breaking up, Ruyan always wanted to make up, treating me like a princess. Ever experienced that? If I hadn't wanted to marry late and disappeared on her, do you think it would have been your chance? Johnny, you are just the fallback reality forced her to settle for. I stared at the picture for a long while, my heart instinctively clenched. Just a physical reaction, not emotional. Can't imagine. If I still loved her, seeing this picture, would I have broken down? Didn't have a lot of love in my life, now getting told straight. These 3 years' warmth could have been fake. What I thought was love was just her settling and fulfilling her duty. Then let Helen divorce me. I'm all for it. Johnny, can't believe you're so cruel. You knew Peter's ex-wife was trouble and told her where he was. I really misjudged you before. The next day, Helen blocked my door in broad daylight, looking pissed. I quickly figured out what happened. Laughed. You think it was me? Who else could it be? With this groundless accusation, I immediately called the police right in front of her. Go ahead. Can't just be accused without reason. She grabbed my hand. Suspicious. Really wasn't you? I looked at her without emotion. When did I ever meet his ex-wife? And how would I have gotten her number? Peter's ex-wife was from a rich family. After success, her brother got into gambling, lost all the family's money, and often forced his sister to go back to Peter. Peter went all out to get a divorce, leaving everything behind. Even sold the house. The ex-wife, feeling she had no backup, went back clinging to Peter. Helen's face showed she understood, eyes conflicted. I smirked. You obviously trust him more, then why not divorce me? What, am I just part of your game with him? Can't deny Peter really doesn't hold back. Avoids his ex like the plague, then doesn't mind letting trouble in to get what he wants. Helen looked embarrassed. I thought he wouldn't lie. He never did before. I mocked. You two are a match. One's a liar, the other's a brainless fool. Helen couldn't take being insulted twice. She snapped. You think I can't do without you? God, I hope not. Learned my lesson from one loss. Suddenly, my neighbor's door opened. Lily came out. Her serious expression softened when she saw me. Lily's gaze shifted between Helen and me. Do you need help? Helen quickly grabbed my hand. Wary. Johnny? Who is she? I tried to pull my hand back. She wouldn't let go. Lily walked over, lowered her voice. Please, let him go. I'm talking to my husband. How's it your business? Lily looked surprised. I stayed in the hospital for a long time. No one came to see me, only had a nurse I hired taking care of things. They thought I was single with no family around. So when there was free time, some doctors and nurses would drop by to chat. I added future ex-wife. Lily understood. Helen got even angrier and sarcastically said, I was wondering why you've suddenly turned so cold and kept talking about divorce. Turns out you found someone else. Not everyone is as shameless as you. Helen raised her voice. Shameless? Me? Before she finished, she suddenly lashed out and swung a slap towards Lily's face. Lily didn't see it coming and took the hit, but she quickly retaliated. I was stunned by what just happened and thought, Lily's a doctor. Her hands can't get hurt. I rushed over, arms wide to shield Lily, glaring fiercely at Helen. Her arm dropped weakly, as if she was hit with a massive blow. She mumbled, Johnny, you're protecting her. I kept my face stern. Helen, there's something wrong with you. What gives you the right to hit people? I quickly checked on Lily. Thankfully, her hands were fine, but her face was a bit bruised. I felt incredibly guilty, Lily. I'm sorry. I didn't expect you to get dragged into this. Lily's eyes flashed, and she calmly replied, It's okay. Helen let out a few hoarse laughs. Fine. Divorce then. Do you think I still love you? A sudden sense of relief. I quickly pulled out the divorce papers, handing a pen to her with both hands. Helen signed her name with flamboyant strokes, tossed the pen aside, and walked off. I carefully put away the agreement, shouting, "See you at the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow at 10 in the morning. Don't be late." But Helen stood me up. I waited from 10 till noon and she didn't show up. Furious, I called her. "Helen, do you remember what day it is? When are you coming to the Civil Affairs Bureau?" She feigned ignorance. "What Civil Affairs Bureau? I'm on a business trip." I hung up in anger and headed to her office. Halfway, Stephen texted me, "Plane lands in half an hour." I slammed on the brakes and turned the car around. When Stephen saw me, his eyes were full of concern. "Why is your face so pale?" My nose tingled. In those few days Helen was back. She never once mentioned how I looked. But Stephen just couldn't help himself. He hugged me, crying, I'm sorry. I wasn't there for you." Stephen, seething with anger, asked about Helen. "Where is that B.H.?" I filled him in on the events, frustrated. "I don't understand why she's dragging this out." Stephen held my shoulders, his eyes blazing. "She dares to bully you? Let me deal with her." Ignoring my protests, he got out and hailed a taxi to find Helen. I had no choice but to follow. When we arrived, Helen's office was already in an uproar. The employees crowded at the door, pretending to work, but all ears were perked. Helen backed away awkwardly. "Stephen, are you crazy?" "No, you're crazy. What gave you the right to bully Johnny?" "Who bullied him? He's the one who wants to leave and is asking for a divorce." "Bullshit. You didn't bully him. You left him to do brain surgery alone. Left him in the hospital to suffer alone, not knowing who to talk to." Helen froze on the spot. "What brain surgery? He didn't tell me anything." "How could he tell you? Weren't you busy playing the dutiful daughter with Peter? So filial, rushing to play stepson to your ex's dad, yet you still won't divorce?" Helen's face turned ghostly white. "Johnny, is it true?" From afar, she looked at me, her eyes flashing with 1,000 emotions. Regret, guilt, pain. Only then did others notice the subject of the gossip amongst them. I felt like a monkey in a circus. I covered my face and stepped into the office, closing the door to block out the prying gazes. It was all in the past. I took off my wig, showing her the newly sprouted hair and a thumb-length scar. Helen's gaze recoiled as if seared by fire when she saw the wound. She wanted to reach out but retreated in trembling hesitation. Her eyes reddened. "I didn't know. It was too cruel, my pale complexion, the meds I was taking. I didn't hide anything," and Helen claimed she didn't know. Thankfully, I really didn't care about her anymore. Maybe it's a side effect of the surgery? I'm not sure. "I'm sorry," Helen cried. I stayed calm. "No need to apologize. It's just because you didn't care." She hurriedly interrupted. "I did care." "Well, I couldn't see it. You hid things and took care of Peter, leaving me at his father's mercy, then brought him back home. All I see is how much you cherish him. As for us, maybe we just aren't a good fit. Didn't you tell Peter our marriage was too plain, too much like bland water? You said it wore you out. Coincidentally, I'm tired too. Take your time to think, but this divorce comes from sincerity, not anger." Helen bowed her head, remaining silent. Feeling a sense of pointlessness, I dragged Stephen away. To my surprise, she called later that night. "Fine, I agree to the divorce. Johnny, I love you. I just wanted a fresh start for us." This time, Helen showed up on time and brought a new divorce agreement. Seeing the part of the assets given to me, I was pleased, but I kept quiet and signed decisively. Helen, however, hesitated for a long time before eventually signing under my persistent urging. We submitted the application at the divorce window 1 month to collect the papers. During the 1-month cool-off period, Stephen took me for a checkup. The results were great. Lily wished me a speedy hair-growing recovery. I even gave them both a thank you banner. On the day the divorce was finalized, I truly felt free. Walking out of the Civil Affairs Bureau with Helen, we headed in opposite directions. After just a step, she called out, "Johnny." When I looked back, she was crying. Unlike her usual quiet tears, This time, she was a mess, like a child losing their favorite toy. My brow furrowed. Helen was raised under strict discipline since she was young. Her grandfather believed in the maxim that children needed the rod to grow. He also demanded she never cry, not at any time. A couple of years back, when he passed, she spent an entire day silent, not shedding a tear, as if she had lost her soul. I saw her hidden vulnerability in an instant. In those quiet nights, I'd sit by her side, holding her head, gently saying, "Helen, you can cry. I won't laugh at you or blame you. When you're with me, it's okay to cry when you're sad." Helen would bury her head in my shoulder. At first, I just felt the dampness. Then gradually, she'd cry louder, "I don't have Grandpa anymore, Johnny." I'd reply, "You still have me." Back then, I felt nothing but a tender pity for her. Now, though, her sobs only left me feeling irritable. "Stop crying. It's annoying. You're not a kid anymore." I turned and walked away, leaving her tears and vulnerability behind. I posted my divorce certificate on social media, announcing my real freedom. My mom immediately called and gave me an earful. I told her Helen cheated. She yelled, "You couldn't keep your man." She insisted, "Get back with Ru Yen, or you don't have me as your mom." I replied cheerfully, "All right, ma'am, if there's nothing else, I'll hang up." That same afternoon, Johnny, she stormed over. When I opened the door, she slapped me. "Johnny, you've really got guts now. I thought Ru Yen was just having a fling and didn't plan on divorcing you. Beg her for forgiveness so you two can work things out." I stared at her with a sudden smile. That's my mom. My grandma said my parents love me, as long as I listened, kept listening. You see, I've been obedient. After college, I didn't take a dime from them. There was a time she was in the hospital with back pain, and I dropped everything to help her. Her new husband only visited briefly, and didn't even want to pay for her medical bills. Yet, her mind is always on her husband and their daughter now. I sighed, taking off my wig. "Mom, remember a couple of months ago, I called you to say I had a tumor and needed surgery. I hoped you'd come see me, but you were busy with your daughter and said you'd call back. But it's been 2 months. Sometimes I doubt I'm your biological child because of how you treat me." She hesitated. "You didn't tell me. How could I know if you don't tell me?" She regained confidence. "It's just a surgery, and you're standing here fine now, aren't you? I'm your mom and your sister is young. Isn't it right for me to take care of her? Competing with your sister for affection. It's like you're regressing." But her trembling hands at her sides betrayed her unease. Luckily, she wasn't as indifferent as she claimed, or I'd feel even more pathetic. I posted the divorce certificate online to see what her first reaction would be when she showed up. Would she show even a hint of concern for me? Before marriage, she never stopped stressing, "Take care of Helen. Wait until your sister graduates and joins her company." Maybe I mean something to her, but compared to her daughter's future, it's nothing. I chuckled. "Mom, this is the last time I'm calling you Mom." She turned red. "Johnny, you can't do this to me. I gave birth to you. You owe me for life." I said, "If we're keeping score, I might have to talk to your husband about getting back the $5 million I lent Helen for her business before our divorce. That's marital property." She glared. "You wouldn't dare." I calmly said, "I dare." I blocked my mom on all channels and decided to move to a new place, the villa in the west suburbs. It's beautifully landscaped, and there's already a guest living there. It was a sunny morning. I brought people over. Peter was indeed staying there. He was furious. "Johnny, what are you doing?" I crossed my arms. "This is my property. You're living here without permission and not paying rent. It's not reasonable." Peter shouted, "It was Helen who let me stay. But now it's mine." I had his stuff packed and thrown out. He fumed. "Johnny, you'll regret this." I knew his trick. Cling to Helen persistently. Sure enough, Helen texted me, "Johnny, you don't have to be so harsh. He just needed a place to stay." I sent her a bundle of our last 2 months' chat records. Finally, I added, "If not for his constant provocations, I wouldn't have thought of divorcing." Helen was silenced. Soon, I heard from her friends about Peter's situation. Helen took back the apartment she lent him and hired a lawyer to reclaim the money she had spent on him. 50 grand, due by month's end. With no place to hide, Peter was found by his ex-wife again. Her family were all leeches. Though I didn't like Peter, I loathed his ex-wife's kind even more. Helen sent me a friend, seeking amusement at Peter's expense. But I warned her that Peter's ex should be jailed. Then, shockingly, news of Peter's ex's death and Helen's stabbing blew up online. Peter was the perpetrator. Charged with attempted murder, he got life. Through the news, I pieced together the story. Hounded by his ex, Peter snapped and killed her in her sleep late one night. Then, he took a knife to Helen, causing her serious harm. Helen remains in a coma. Sad and tragic. Beyond this, I felt no other emotion. It was like watching strangers' lives unfold. Helen woke up after half a month and called from a friend's phone. "Johnny, it's me." She paused quietly, then softly asked, "Did it hurt back then?" I replied flatly, "It's all in the past. Can you come see me?" "Seems unnecessary now." Helen coughed, her composed facade falling apart, and she choked up. "Peter asked why I gave him hope if I didn't like him. My actions led him to believe you were just a husband in name, that I only married you to meet Grandpa's expectations, and that someday I'd return to him. In his return, I even entertained those thoughts. I thought love needed to be fiery, not serene. But the 3 years I spent married to you were honestly my happiest. I've never felt so at peace and joyful. How did I ever think it was boring or that I didn't love you and that you didn't matter? How could that be?" She sobbed. I stayed silent. Eventually, she said, "I messed up. I'm sorry, Johnny. Is there no chance for us now? Plain water may be flavorless, but humans can't live without it." Helen didn't understand before. Now she does, and it's gone. For months post-surgery, I returned to work. I'm a preschool teacher. The work is detailed and often involves dealing with unreasonable parents. But the children's pure and adorable smiles bring me real joy. It's like seeing little me with grandma, living amidst constant happiness. She loved me deeply. I nurture my students, clumsily imitating grandma's care for little me. After work, I saw Lily at the school gate. Today's her day off. Lily seemed a bit nervous. "Want to grab dinner?" The sky was a cascade of golden clouds. I smiled and nodded. "Sure." My heart felt bright, unclouded by past hardships.